Okay, we're at that point where I've got to start thinking about how to deal with the rust. And there's two ways of doing this. I can either just treat it, or I can remove the rust and then treat the metal again to stop the rust coming back. I think I'm going to go with the latter, which is remove the rust and then treat the metal. Now, most of this rust is just surface mounted rust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Dremel, and I'm just going to basically sand it off very lightly with this particular tool. And the reason I'm going to use the Dremel is purely just for speed. No other reason than that. So the worst part is down here. There's a few bits over here which I might have to use some sandpaper for, and then there's a few bits on the bars that just need to come off. All of it's pretty much surface mounted, and then I'm going to treat it with something, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to treat it with, but I shall have a trip down to one of the local DIY stores and see if I can buy some treatment just to protect the metal going forward. And that's what I'm going to do. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. I haven't bored you with this bit. So, in terms of the key bed itself, the worst bit was this piece down here, which I had to pretty much sand back to bare metal, because it was actually riddled with rust. But the rest of it is actually in very good condition, so I've only done a little bit of restoration on that in terms of sanding it back, but I have had to treat it. So areas of this top section here that I'm sort of, let me just zoom in on that a bit more. Okay, so areas of this top section here, I had to take back to bare metal, and I've also had to take back to bare metal this area just in front of the circuit board. Now, I did consider taking the circuit board out, completely stripping this all the way back, and then getting it powder coated or something. It was a serious consideration, and I didn't do it. And I'll tell you the reason why I didn't do it is, number one, it's my keyboard, and I don't intend to sell it. And number two, I needed to do enough to protect it, but I'm not really. I didn't really want at this point in time to sort of sandblast it and then repowder coat it and go all the way with that. So that's the reason why I haven't done it. I may in the future choose to do that. I don't know. And then what I've done is effectively I've painted this with a all-in-one paint. Now again, I could have sprayed it, but spraying it would mean taking it completely to pieces, and obtaining a new one of these felt pads. And I thought about that, and I decided not to go down that route, because the area that I need to treat is effectively this area at the bottom here. I didn't need to treat anything else, and these two areas here. So I thought the easiest way was to actually paint it. So I've got a brush, and I very carefully have gone along here, making sure that all the rust areas where I've gone back to bare metal, this was pretty much back to bare metal all the way along, but on here, here and here, all the rust areas that I've gone back to bare metal have been properly covered up. Now the paint I've used is a rust inhibitor. Okay, it's designed as a one coat, so you basically just put a one coat onto bare metal, and it seals the bare metal, and it also effectively neutralizes any remaining rust that there may be that I haven't caught by taking it back to bare metal. Now I'll be honest with you, I've taken pretty much everywhere there was a rust spot back to bare metal, and of course the reason why we have rust on this top plate is pretty much because I think drinks have been poured through the keyboard at some point. I've looked at the frame. The frame actually isn't that bad, so I think this has taken the brunt of it in terms of drinks and oxidation over the years. So from that perspective, I think just doing what I've done is sufficient to protect this for another 20 odd years. Now obviously I won't be spilling drinks through it, so it really is a case of just protecting the bare metal from oxidising again, which is all rust is at the end of the day. It's moisture oxidising on the metal surface. If I decide to go back and revisit this at some point in the future, then maybe I'll strip it all the way back and I'll powder coat it and get it sandblasted and whatever, but not for this project. It just doesn't seem to warrant it. Now there are people on some of the user groups have given me ideas, and you can see they've done absolutely beautiful jobs sandblasting this right the way back to bare metal, then getting it powder coated, then getting the powder, and then get it back, and it looks beautiful. And if I was going to sell it on, then maybe I would do that, but for this particular purpose it just seems a little bit overkill. So that's that. That I'm going to leave to dry overnight. So today has been a pretty unproductive day from that perspective, because this morning I was running around trying to work out what I was going to do in terms of how to seal that. The other thing I did with this, just so that you're aware of what I did and why I did it, was obviously I sanded that down. I used the Dremel and the sander on the Dremel and the wire brushes on the Dremel to get all the rust back to bare metal. Then obviously I cleaned it down with just normal cleaning fluid. And then what I did was I ran over the whole thing with a damp rag with isopropyl alcohol in it. Why did I use isopropyl alcohol? Well, very simply, isopropyl alcohol is like, when it dries, it disperses any moisture off the surface. And it's also good at cleaning and degreasing the surface. So it formed two functions for me. It degreased the surface for painting, which is what I needed to do, and it also took any remaining moisture that there might have been off the surface as well, which means that the paint should nicely adhere to the surface and dry quite well. So that was the other thing I did off camera, was just gave it a rub down with isopropyl alcohol just to prepare the surface, obviously after I'd sanded it and cleaned it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wash the keys, which are all sitting over here at the moment. And the keys are, as I said before, they're quite filthy. You can feel it if you know, you can feel it. I'm not sure you can see it, but you can definitely feel it. And they all need to be washed. So these are going into a tub of hot washing up liquid. In this country, it's the stuff I use is called Fairy, but any good washing up liquid, not the cheap shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but not the cheap stuff. Something that's got a bit of a got a bit of oomph behind it. The reason I use Fairy is because Fairy has always been the right one to clean this. So that's the first thing that's been done there. Then the next thing I'm going to do to every one of those keys is use some of this stuff. Okay, this is Maguire's. This is for bringing plastic up. It's a sort of kind of an automotive brand. Now I have got some more Maguire's on order, but it's got to come from the US because they don't sell it in this country, and it's not going to be here for probably about a month, and that's to do the display. This stuff is not really suitable for doing the display, but it will bring the keys up beautifully. So that's kind of where we are. So I thought I'd give you a status input of where we are with the key bed now. The next job is keys. Then we're going to tackle the dirt on the board and giving the board a good clean with isopropyl alcohol. There's a couple of shorts or a couple of dodgy solders on there that I'm going to deal with, and then we put it back together. Because of illness and other things, it's been 3.5 months since I recorded the body of this video. What I realised is that I actually recorded something like 5, nearly 6 hours of video in terms of actually refurbishing this key bed. And looking back on it, I didn't think I could do it justice by compressing that down into shorter parts. So I think we're probably going to end up with part 8. I haven't finished editing it yet, but for part 6, that's it. The next piece is to be done after this. So just to recap, we've now got the key bed back to a position where it is rust free and has been treated, so it should last me for several years to come. Next things to be done, we are going to clean the keys, clean the circuit board, which is more important, repair the circuit board because I have identified breaks, but you'll see that as the videos roll in, and then put it all back together once it's all done. So keep watching. There's at least another 2, maybe 3 parts to come on actually refurbishing the key bed, and as I said, I didn't think I could do it justice, all the steps that I have had to go through with this key bed refurbishment, by summarising and speeding it up too much. So you're not going to get 5 hours worth, but you may get an hour's worth. And on that note, live long and prosper. Bye bye.